Hey, good morning. This is lesson 33, point slope form. This is kind of new for a lot of kids. I have not found too many kids that understand point slope form. So focus today on where these numbers are coming from. We'll use it often, a couple times through quadratic equations and things like that. And sometimes kids find this to be a little bit easier to write equations, like if we were going to find the intercepts. And so we just need to be able to recognize what point slope form looks like and know how to inject or extract a slope and a point out of the formula. So the bell problems are here. Find me the x and y intercepts, and then find me those proportions, please. Welcome back. Here's the answers. Slope is the measure of the steepness of a line. On the x-intercept and y-intercepts, now that you know these are coordinates, I don't mind if you want to start putting your answers like this over here, that the x-intercept, but you have to label. You just can't write 2, 6. You got to say who's who. So you can say the x-intercept is 2 and the y-intercept is 6. So you can just leave them now instead of a coordinate as numbers. I've been really focusing on up to this point that you write it as a coordinate, just so it forces you to kind of say, okay, I need to go 2 to the right and don't go up or down, or don't go left or right, but go up 6. I think we kind of got that now, that we can kind of start writing our intercepts as a number rather than a coordinate. Okay? All right. So here's a problem here on how they come up with slope-intercept equation or slope-intercept form. So follow along here with me a little bit. Here's a problem over here that they said the slope was 3. So they put this into the slope formula over here, and they gave us one coordinate here called 2, 1. This is my x and this is my y. So what they did is they put them into this over here formula, the slope formula. They said we already have the slope, but I have a coordinate. There's my y, there's my x. Now they said, let's monkey with this equation a little bit. Let's get rid of this in the denominator. And the way we're going to get rid of it from the denominator is we're going to multiply both sides by an x minus 2. Over here, they cancel out. And over here, we have this, 3 times x minus 2. We have a y minus 1 over here. Now, they're going to take this guy now. Oh, I see what they did. They just flipped it. So what they did is they flipped the whole equation so that the y's are first over here to get it into the y-intercept or point slope form. So see that y minus 1? It's over here now. This whole thing is over here. So this is what we call point slope form. We just leave it like that because from that form we can extract some important things. Number 1, we can get the slope out of it if we know the equation. It's right here. We can also get a coordinate out of this if they gave it to us in point slope form. We know that this is the y, and before it went in there, it was a positive 1. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And before this, and this is my x value, before it went into the formula, it was a positive 2. So sometimes when they give it to us and if we recognize this, we can graph this a whole lot quicker without doing any math. So that's kind of how they came up with it. Now, here's the important things that you need to know. Obviously, here's the slope. This is what we call point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So these are coordinates. Of the coordinate, this is my x part. This over here is my y coordinate. All right, now here's kind of the trick to point slope form. There's a negative sign in the actual equation. It's y minus y sub 1. That's the slope formula. And over here, it's an x minus x sub 1. So when we're looking at numbers in here, if I put a 3 into the equation, well, then it'd be a negative 3. Okay? So kind of that's important is because there's a negative sign in there. So when we're looking at points, if they gave us the point or put a point in, we had that negative sign there already. So I would write it y minus 3 because this formula already has a negative. Let's go down here and it'll make a little bit more sense maybe. All right, so they said, write me an equation in point-slope form with the line given, okay, containing this slope and this point. Well, I know it's going to be always going to be a y. Now, I'm not going to put my sign there, but I know it's going to be a y minus something here. So I'm just going to leave it blank. You don't need to write that blank. Equals 5 over 2, that's my slope. And it's always going to be times x and then my x part of my value here. Now again, I'm just going to temporarily put a minus sign in there. There's a minus sign in the formula. So here's my y value. So if I put that in, it's going to be a minus 0. Now here's the tricky part. Because if there's a minus sign already in the formula and I put in a minus 3, doesn't that make a plus 3? So the trick is kind of to do the opposite of whatever the sign is on our coordinate. So I want to put in a plus 3 because again, there's a minus already in the formula right here. So if I want to put a minus in, that'd be a minus 3, which is the same as a plus 3. So I can do that in my head mentally so that I don't have to keep rewriting things. All right, so there's our equation right there in point-slope form. Let's try another one. I want to say y. Now I want to start going right in the order. I want to look for my y coordinate here. Now it's a positive 2, so when it goes into the formula, there's already a negative sign, so I put in negative 2. Again, kind of the trick, hush, hush, is always take the opposite sign, okay? Because there's a negative in there, so it's going to make the sign the opposite. Okay, here's my slope. It's always going to be an x. Now if I have an x, minus is in the formula, I want to put a 4 in. Isn't negative 4 the opposite of 4? All right, so again, with some practice, it will start to make sense of what I mean by, just take the opposite. Here we go with slope. It's always going to start out with a y. What's my y value? Now again, there's a negative in the formula, so a minus minus, that's going to change to a plus 3. In order to get a negative 3 out, it was a minus to begin with, and it's minus 3. Equals my slope, which is 0, x, now again, it's a minus, so it's going to be a minus minus in my formula when I plug it in, so I'm just going to say plus 2. Again, notice this sign is the opposite. This sign's the opposite. It's going to be important when we extract it out the other way. All right, so give it a shot. Let's see how you do. I have the answers on the next page, so just pause your video and give it a shot. All right, so let's see how you did. So again, you see how it's a positive 1 there. There's a negative in the formula, so it'll be a minus 1. Here's a half. It's a minus half in the formula. Over here, a negative 4, but when I put it in, it was a minus 4, which becomes a plus. So all I do is change the sign. Change the sign. Okay? All right. Hopefully you did well. Now, it still looks like a whole lot of math to do, but if we notice that it's in point-slope form and we recognize that, rather than a whole lot of math of the hippity-hop, get rid of the parentheses, get it into y equals mx plus b form, we can speed some things up. I already know what my slope is. There's 2 things we need to graph is we need a point and we need the slope. I already know my slope. It's right here. Can I extract a coordinate out of this? Sure I can. Here's my y value. Now it's a minus 1, so that must mean they put in a positive 1 because there's a minus in the equation. And so that would make it a positive 1. Here's my x value. So my coordinate is a 1, 1. Now if I know the slope and a coordinate, I can graph this. Let's go to 1, 1, put a dot. Our slope is positive up 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 into the left one, so that'd be like a double negative. And let's draw our line. There we go, pretty close. Again, I'm hoping some people at home are practicing with a ruler. You need to be very, very precise in our measurements, our line drawing here. All right, I need to go turn my lights on real quick. I'll be right back. All right, So hopefully you kind of got a head start here or tried it. Here's my slope. My slope is going to be a minus 1/2. I know that's right here in the point slope form. Let's get a coordinate out of here. Let's do our y's. In order for it to be a +2 in the equation, it had to have been a -2 before I put it in there. In order to get a -3 in the equation, it had to be a +3 because there was a negative sign in the actual equation. So again, look, taking the opposites. Okay, so if you remember that, just take the opposites. That'll speed things up. So if we go 3, -2, it's a negative slope, so my line in my head, I'm thinking should be heading down. That helps, so I go up 1 over 2. That's a bad dot. Up 1 over 2. And let's draw our line. I'm getting a little bit better at drawing my lines. Yeah, then look what happens. A little bit off on that one. All right. Got it? All right, let's see what's on the next one here. Yeah, we don't. You give it a shot. Oops. So pause your video. I have the answers on the next page. Let's see if you can do it. There's really a 1 in front of this, so if you're kind of stuck on your slope, there's really a 1 right there. So that's really a -1. So your slope on this one is a -1. Sometimes in math, we just get kind of lazy and don't write the numbers in there like a 1. Okay? All right, let's see how you did. I got the slope out of -1 and a coordinate called 2, -2. And there's my graph. On letter 2b, I got a slope of -2. So that means I'd go up 2, left 1. And I started out at 1, -3. All right? All right. Now, write equation that describes the line in slope-intercept form. Now, kind of be careful because now they said, okay, I want your final answer in slope-intercept form. Okay? So pay attention to the directions and how they want our answers. Now, this is where sometimes point slope kind of pays off a little bit. Because yet the other day we did this. We said y equals mx. I'm not sure why this is doing this. Let's get rid of this. No. Kind of freaking out here a little bit. All right. So the other day we did this. We said y equals, come on, don't freeze up on me now. Y equals mx plus b. And we said, let's plug in the -4. Let's put in a -1 for the x plus b, because that's what we need still. And we put the -2 over here. So we said -2 equals 4 plus b. We subtracted 4 from both sides, and we said b equals -6. So then we were able to write our equation that said y equals -4x minus 6. That's in slope-intercept form. Now, let's use point slope form. It's a little bit easier. We know it's going to be a y. It's going to be a +2 here because it's my y value. There's a negative in the formula. I'm going to put my slope. I want to say x, and it must have been a +1 before I put it in because it's in the -1 when I put it into the formula, which already had a negative. Now look at how a little bit easier this is. Let's get rid of our parentheses. -4x minus 4 equals y plus 2. Now I just need to get rid of my 2, and I have it in y equals mx plus b form. Same answer. But a little bit easier, maybe. When we have 2 coordinates, we can't do anything until we have the slope. So if you're ever stuck and just don't know where to begin, find the slope. This minus becomes a plus. So that's 6 over 2, which equals 3. So I'm going to do in slope-intercept form. I want to use this guy because I want to try to stay away from the negative points. Okay, so it's going to be a y minus 2, 3 times x minus 3. That's 3x. Now the only thing I need to do is add my 2 to both sides, and I have it in y equals mx plus 3 form. 9 take away 2 is a minus 7. All right, got one more here. Let's see. Here's my intercepts. Now, this is where it's important to kind of know that if it's an x-intercept, that means I go to the left 2, 0. I want to write them as coordinates. And this one says 0, 4. So let's find our slope. So my slope is a 2. Let's pick one of these coordinates. It doesn't matter which one. I think I want to pick this one because if it's my y is 0, then watch what happens. I'm strategizing here. And there's a 0 there, so I can go right down here because y minus 0 is just y. All right, if you plugged in the other one, you just have one little tiny step more to do. All right, so there you go. You give it a try. And again, I have the answers on the next page. Okay, let's see how you did. I got a y equals 1/3 x plus 2 for the first one. There's my work. And then I got a 6x minus 8 for the other one. All right, now let's use it to find the intercepts. Now, if you recall back, to find intercepts, the best way to find the intercepts is to put it in standard form. So again, we need to now know 3 different forms: standard form, slope-intercept form, and point-slope form. Again, we need to have the slope, so let's find the slope. We're going to do slope day in, day out. We got minus 20 over minus 5, which equals a 4. So my slope's a 4. Okay. Now, let's do point slope form here. Let's stay with the positive coordinates here. Okay. All right. So we got y minus 8 equals my slope, which is 4 times x minus 4. 4x minus 16 equals y minus 8. Now at this point, I want to strategize it a little bit. I want to put it into point slope form. So that means my x's come first and my y's, and then my whole numbers are all on the other side. So I want to get rid of my 8 to the other side. (16 minus 8, that's going to be a minus 8. Now let's get my x's to the other side so we're in standard form, because that is the easy way to do intercepts. All right, so there we go. Now that I have it in that form, let's find my x-intercept. Again, you must write x-intercept. So we know who's who. That means I put a 0 in for the y. So really my equation says minus 4x equals minus 8. I would divide both sides by a negative 4. Most of us can do that in our head, that we get a 2. Y-intercept, I would put in a 0 for my x. So then my equation says y equals negative 8, and I'm done. It's a negative 8. There's my 2 intercepts. If I was graphing that, I'd put a dot on the x-intercept at 2, a dot at the y-intercept at negative 8, and draw my line. All right, you give it a try. Find the slope first, and then pick one of the coordinates to plug in, and then get it into standard form. Let's see how you did. I got a slope of 3. And then I did all this work over here to get it into standard form. So here's my equation in standard form. Minus 3x plus y equals 9. And then I got my 2 intercepts, negative 3 and 9. All right, word problems. Last part of the day. Word problems and how do I use this in the real world? Well, here's an ad over here. And over here, it costs to place an ad 1 week, the number of lines in the ad. They cost 3, 5, and 10 lines are shown. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. So there's our first direction. That represents the cost of this function. Then find how much it costs for 18 lines. So let's use two coordinates here. Let's call 3 and 1350 and 5 and 1850. Okay, so let's find our slope. M equals 1850 minus So let's get it down to a unit rate because this is a word problem. So what does that really mean? Every line costs $2.50 is what that really means. Okay, so make sure you have your decimal there. Okay, let's go to step 2. They said put it in slope-intercept form. So we already know our slope. So do you want to use point slope? Sure, let's use point slope. Let's use this one right here. So we got y minus 1350 equals, my slope was 2.50 times x minus 3. I gotta go turn my light on. My light just went off so I can do my calculator. I think that's gonna be 750. Maybe I can do it without it. Yeah, watch me make a mistake now. Now I want to take and add 1350. Y equals 250x. And what do I get here? 6. Oops, not an equal sign there. 1350 take away 750. 50s cancel out. 3, 6. I think it's a 6. So I'm pretty sure my math is right. So there's my equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so now they want to know how much it costs for 18 lines. So now we can use that equation. And I get 250 times 18. It's 45. Plus 6. That is, so minus 6. No, plus 6. I'm gonna go back over here and check my work. Yep, plus 6. So it's going to be, what, $51? Yep, I like all my work. So an ad, write it in words. Again, I'm glad you're watching the video because on quizzes, all word and problems need to have word answers. 18-line ad will cost $51. All right. So on the next page, I did one and see what happens there. Okay. So do this one, and I got the answer on the next page. Let's see how you did. Okay, let's see how you did. Here's my work. This plus $6 would be a plus $6 because when you walk in the door, they said, we're gonna set your ad up, so it's gonna cost you $6, and then it's $2.25 for every ad or line that you do in your ad. So with that, I hope today helps you out on point slope form. Tomorrow we have a no school day. I don't know if you're aware of that because it's Veterans Day. So we won't have any work to do tomorrow, but get this out of the way today. That way you don't have it hanging over your head. All right. Have a good day. We'll see you on Thursday.